Hey guys, welcome to another video of Cloud Deep Dive. In today's topic, we will discuss how you can reduce your AWS spend. Today almost all organizations are facing challenges with huge spike in their bills, and it's not because of high AWS product cost. AWS is doing its best to keep its prices competitive. But with the rapid growth in our organizations and more workloads we are migrating towards the cloud, we always forget to work on cost optimization and end up spending more money. So in today's video, we will discuss different tools and ways you can use to reduce your AWS cost. Before we start talking about these different ways to reduce cost, let's first talk about how you can find out the costs of your AWS services you're consuming in your organization. One of the tools AWS provides is AWS Cost Explorer. It helps you to view and analyze your AWS cost and uses. And to understand more, let's go and log into our AWS console to see how it can help you. So guys, I have logged in into my AWS account and we will go to AWS Cost Explorer, which you can find under All Services, AWS Cost Management, AWS Cost Explorer. Under that screen, you go to the AWS Cost Explorer and you can see it will show you spend month wise on all the services you are paying. I like their stack option, so I'll choose that one to get better view. So here you can filter it out that for how many months you want to sue. Right now it's projecting only for 6 months. You can go for 1 year and you can also see for the current year. So we'll keep it for 6 months. By default, it give you or it group it by all your spend by service. And you can see for June month, I spent something on AppStream on Route 53, paid some tax, spent something on config and EC2 others and others. So similarly for each month, it will tell you how much you're spending on a particular service. If you would like, you can choose a particular service from the filters and then you can see how much you're spending on that particular service in the given month. They have another options as well, like you can group it by accounts. So if your organization have 15 different accounts, so you can go to your master payer account and you can group your spend based on your linked accounts, and it will give you that which account is spending how much money. And if you want to further drill it down and see that what services that particular account is consuming, then you can go to the linked account, filter for that particular account, and then you can group it by services and you can find out that which particular service in that account is costing you more money. So now, as you understand how you can leverage Cost Explorer to find out which service is costing you more money and under which account. Based on these findings, you can take further actions and reduce your cost. Now let's discuss different ways you can use to reduce your costs. So guys, I've listed here 10 different ways you can use to reduce your AWS cost. So first one is you can reduce cost by stop paying for idle instances, and that means like for your EC2 and RDS instances. So what happened in our organization or whenever we are working on any project, we launch instances in our lower environment, like in our development or QA, and we forgot to terminate or stop these instances when these are not required, or maybe when we are going home in the evening or during the weekend time, or maybe during the holiday time, those instances are still running. Even though we just required those instances for our testing purpose, but because we forget to stop or terminate it, they are still running and they are still costing you money. And in a big organization, you may find many such instances which are running in your non-production environment like QA or development, where they are just keep on running during the off office hours, and you are paying extra money for all those instances. So it is advisable that you terminate or stop these instances if possible when it's not used. And when I say terminate or stop, it based on your requirement or your use case. If the underlying data you know that is not required, you are done with that, you can just go ahead and terminate those resources so that you won't pay extra for the EBS volumes. But if you need that underlying data, so at least stop those instances during that time, and you will still keep your EBS volume attached to it. And whenever you need, you can just reinitiate or restart that particular instance. And that way you will at least save paying for the compute for that EC2 instance. So that is the one way you can reduce your cost by kind of either stop or by terminating your EC2 instances. Now, the question comes that how you can implement it in your organization. So one way I can think of is you can use AWS Instance Scheduler for this purpose. So what AWS Instance Scheduler does, it provides you capability to create custom start and stop in schedules for your EC2 and RDS instances. That means that you can configure that I want to start these EC2 instances on Monday morning at 6 a.m. and I want to stop or terminate these instances at 6 p.m. in the evening. So during that time, this is office hours, these instances will be keep on running. But the moment it's off hours like 6 p.m. after that, you may have that nobody is working on those instances. You can bring it down so that during the night time you are not paying that cost. And similarly, you can create these schedules for your different time zones and different timings, and you can save money. So that is the one of the approach you can take and save some money. So the another way to reduce cost is by stop paying for ideal redshift clusters. Like we discussed for EC2 and RDS, you might be having redshift clusters provisioned in your lower environment like development or maybe your QA environment, which you launch for the testing purpose and you keep in running during your evening, weekend, and holiday time frame, and you end up paying extra money for those for no reason. So what you can do, you can save some money by pausing these clusters during off hours. And similar way like you have done for the or we discussed for the EC2 and RDS, for those you have AWS Instance Scheduler. For Redshift, we have a feature called pause Redshift cluster. And when we use it, it will pause your cluster so that you won't be paying any money for the compute. The only money when it pauses, you'll be paying only for the data warehouse storage for the underlying storage. Like in case of EC2, when we stop an instance, we just pay only for the EBS volume. We are not paying for the compute. Similarly, in the Redshift clusters as well, when you pause any cluster, you will pay only for the underlying your data warehouse storage, not for the compute. And if you feel that your cluster can be terminated, that is no longer required, you can go ahead and terminate that as well. And that way you will save money for your storage also. Another thing, like I mentioned, the pause, similar to AWS instance scheduler, Redshift also provides with the pause scheduling. So you can schedule that at what time you want to pause your clusters and what time you want to reinitiate it and kind of resume that cluster. So it has that capability as well. You can create your schedules in there by which you can pause after your office hours, maybe 5 p.m. or whatever.
So the next way to reduce your cost is by enabling S3 intelligent tiering. As you know, S3 offer a range of storage classes and which are designed for your use case. Like we have standard storage class, which you can use for storing data which are frequently accessed. And then we have infrequent access storage class like standard or one zone, where you can store your data which is not which are less frequently accessed. And then you have Glacier and Deep Glacier Archive, where you can store data for the longer term and you know that you're not going to access it. Maybe you might require once in a while. So then those kind of data you can store it into Glacier. Along with that, S3 also provide you lifecycle policies to manage this data. What I mean that you can use these policies to move data from one storage class to another storage class based on the pattern or based on the users. Suppose you know that there are some objects that you will be using for the first 30 days and after that you might not use them. So you can move those objects from standard storage class to infrequent storage class, and maybe after a year of that you can move it to the Glacier so that you can start saving money. But to set up all these policies, you need to analyze your data. You should know how the pattern is going to look like, that after 30 days I'm not going to use these objects, so that I can move it to infrequent and save some money. You should know all these patterns upfront to set up these policies. But what if you don't have time to analyze this pattern, or you don't know how the pattern is gonna be, or maybe it will change over time? So S3 offers another class S3 intelligent tiering, which helps you to optimize your storage cost by automatically transferring data to the most cost effective access tier. And while doing that, it does not impact your performance or there is no operational overhead. So what this intelligent tiering does is when you upload your object and you enable or you store it into intelligent tiering class, uh, it start monitoring your data. And suppose for the first 30 days, consecutive 30 days, it finds out that you haven't touched that particular object or you haven't used or accessed that particular object, it will move it to the infrequent access storage class, so that you can stop paying for the standard storage class and now you'll be paying only for the access infrequently accessed storage class. So that's how it monitors your data automatically and move your data based on your uses. And once it's moved to infrequent access, and then it will monitor maybe further 90 days is moved to glacier, and then further to deep glacier based on your data uses pattern. So you don't need to define any policy there. It monitors automatically. It moves your data automatically. Suppose after moving to infrequent access, you access the data, so it will retrieve the data and it will move it to frequently accessed data, and there is no cost as well of retrieving the data or moving the data from between different classes. So the only charge S3 intelligent tiering is like for the monitoring your data, they charge you some fees, but it gives you the great saving as well as compared to what you might have done or which you might get with the lifecycle policy. So that's another way, like you can, if you don't know your patron, if you don't know your users, that how my patron or access patron is going to look like in future. So intelligent tiering is great way to save some money.
So the another way to reduce your AWS cost is by cleaning up underutilized network resources. And what does that mean? That many times what happen that we create a load balancer or EIP for our testing purpose, and then we forget to clean up these resources. And all these resources cost money and add up to your AWS bill. Load balancers are charged on an hourly basis. So whenever you provision a load balancer, AWS will start charging you. Doesn't matter whether you are using it or not using it. And if you have created a load balancer and which is sitting idle, that means you are paying money to AWS for that particular load balancer. So you can find out all those load balancers which are idle in your accounts, and you can try to delete those load balancers to save some money. Next is for the elastic IPs the same way. AWS will charge you for the EIP if you are not using it. So if the EIP is associated with your NAT or with your load balancer or with your EC2 instance, then AWS won't charge it. But if it is not associated with any of these resources, AWS will start charging money for these elastic IPs as well. So you can find out these elastic IPs which are idle or which are not associated with any resource. You can find out those EIPs and you can delete those as well. Now to find out what are your ELBs and EIPs are idle, you can use Trusted Advisor to find out all those resources. Uh, Trusted Advisor has a check for unassociated IP addresses and for idle load balancers, and it will list out all those resources which you can use it, and then from that list you can go ahead and delete all those resources to save some money. So the next way to reduce AWS cost is by using spot instances over on-demand instances. Spot instances is basically a spare capacity in AWS data centers which AWS offer at lower price. And by using spot instances, you know that you can reduce your compute cost by almost 90%. The only problem which I see with the sport instances is that which you have to keep in mind while using it, that sport instances can interrupt or can terminate abruptly at any time. AWS give you 2 minutes of notice period to gracefully terminate your instance if you want, but otherwise they will just take out that capacity and give it to the on-demand users or whatever requirement they have, and your application might get little bit of impact because of that. So if you have any workload which can handle this kind of terminations, so you can use Spot for those workloads and save some money by using Spot over on-demand instances. So the next way of uh, reducing your AWS cost is by doing some cost optimization on EBS volumes. And what you can do for the EBS is like you can try to find out all the unattached EBS volumes and get rid of those, delete those volumes if you can do, or you can just take the snapshots of those and so that in case you require it at a later time, so you can create the volumes and save some money. Another way with the EBS volumes, you can find out the old snapshot. So sometimes what happen that we keep on taking the snapshot, but we don't delete our old snapshots, and those are not useful for us. So you can find out all those old snapshots and delete those old snapshots and then save some money as well. Another way for the EBS volumes is sometimes what happen that we initiate or we provision a EC2 instance and we put them in the stop mode and we forget about those instances. Even though you are not paying for the compute for those EBS or sorry EC2 instances, but because EBS is still attached to that EC2 instance, you are paying for the storage. So if you are not using those EC2 instances or there is no uses of those EC2 instances, I mean then you can go ahead and terminate those instances so that you will stop paying for the storage as well. Another thing for the EBS is you can find out that are they under provisioned or over provisioned. So what does it mean that when we create an EBS volume, we specify for like for IO1 and IO2, we specify how many IOPS we will be using, and EBS pricing is directly related to IOPS. So it can happen that suppose you provision for 1000 IOPS and you are using only maybe 500 IOPS. So 500 extra IOPS you have provisioned which you are not using it. So you can adjust your IOPS. You can make sure that you are using the right IOPS amount, or maybe by moving your volume type from IO1 to GB2 where you don't need to provision IOPS and just pay for the storage. So by doing the try sizing for the EBS volume, what you need provision only that much will also help you to save some money for the EBS volumes. Next way to reduce your cost is by using the new generation instance type. So AWS launch new generation instance type, like for example if I give you, we had R4 type of instance type, now the R5 has come, and all this new generation instance type give you better performance at a lower price. So like for the R4, it provides a memory of 244 GB, but if you move to the R5 type instance type, it give you a memory of 256 and all other factors or all other configuration remains same, but the pricing vary. And when you calculate the pricing at the yearly basis, you will find out that you will save a lot of money. So if possible, if you're using old generation instant type, then see if you can move to new generation instant type and save some money. So that's another way you can save some money by moving to new generation instant type. Next way to reduce your AWS cost is by using the NAT gateways. So NAT gateways we use in case our EC2 instances in our private subnet, they need to talk to the internet. So we provision NAT gateways and they help in kind of making the communication for those private instances. And NAT gateways are priced for two things. One, the moment you provision a NAT gateway, the hourly price will start. So you will be paying for those gateway. It doesn't matter whether you're using it or not. Second is like whatever data is processed from the NAT gateway, that will be charged. So these are the two things where you are paying for the NAT gateway. And there are certain ways as well you can reduce those prices. One, uh, try to find out that do you really need an ad gateway. Can you use internet gateway instead of that? And I know that I'm saying that internet gateway, but see if you can use your security groups or knuckles to handle or to block the outcoming, so any traffic coming from outside, and if you can use that instead of using NAT gateway and save some money. Another way, like try to reduce the data processing. Suppose you are trying to access any S3 or DynamoDB in the same region, so try to use gateway VPC endpoints instead of using NAT gateways, or try to see if can you use the interface VPC endpoints to access your AWS services instead of using NAT gateway. So by using these little techniques, you will be able to reduce some cost on NAT gateway and save some money. Next way to reduce your cost is by using the saving plans. So saving plan is like another great way to reduce your AWS cost. So in that, what you do that you make a commitment to spend a specific dollar amount per hour on your compute instances or compute resources for a period of maybe 1 year or 3 year, whatever you say. So what happens that if you have a EC2 workload that is always on, or if you're using any Lambda or Fargate in your architecture, and if you're paying on demand price for that, then you can consider purchasing these saving plans, because saving plan, like there are two kind of saving plan, compute and EC2. And if you're purchasing the compute saving plan, it will cover your EC2, it will cover your Fargate, it will cover your Lambda as well. So whatever spend you're doing on these three compute, that will be at a discounted price under saving plan. And there's another saving plan which is EC2 saving plan, but that covers only EC2 instances for a specific family and in a specific region. So see, if you have this kind of workload, like where you have using EC2 or Fargate or Lambda, and you're paying on demand price for that, so consider purchasing saving plan. That may help you, or that will surely help you to save some money on your AWS cost. Next way to save some money or reduce your AWS cost is by purchasing reserved instances. So if you have workload where you have ongoing EC2 instances, or you have RDS uh, clusters or Redshift clusters, Elasticache or Elasticsearch. So all these workloads, if you have in your architecture which is always on, and you know that it will be going for a year or 2 year or 3 year, then consider purchasing reserved instances for these workloads, and you can save a lot of money by purchasing reserved instances, because reserved instances pricing is lower than your on demand, and you will save a lot of money on that.
So that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching it. And if you like it and find it helpful, please share with your friends and hit the like button. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to get the latest updates. If you have any comments or questions, please post it and I'll be happy to answer your question. Thank you. Bye.